grossisten.com.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. I can't tell you how excited the UFC is to be back here in Sydney, Australia for UFC 127. As many of you know, the event sold out as a record for the UFC, the fastest sellout. We'll have close to 18,000 people in the arena. I think it's important to note that the sellout was not only a record for us, but also for the Acer and for Ticket Tech, their fastest sellout they've ever had. I think that's a testament to really the growth of the UFC, certainly in Australia and worldwide. The other thing about the ticket sales, many of you may know, 60% of the tickets for the event actually came from outside of New South Wales. So 40% roughly from within the state. It's another testament to the commitment of our fans, and we're really excited to be able to bring them an exciting fight card. I want to make a couple of comments before we get to the fighters and the questions. As many of you know, we are currently running an auction for flood relief in Queensland. You can get information at UFC.com. The fighters have donated gloves and shorts. And BJ Penn actually generously is donating part of his purse to the same relief fund. I want to commend him for that. I checked before I came out, and we're close to $10,000 now raised. We've got about, I think, 5 hours left on the UFC experience, and then there will be about another 7 or 8 days where people can bid on the shorts, the gloves, and actually the UFC 127 canvas, which is obviously a pretty unique item. UFC 127, while it's airing here Sunday afternoon, it is live everywhere else in the world as if it were happening in the U.S. I think that's important for everyone to realize. We just announced that many of the preliminary fights will be available to our fans. If you go to the Facebook page and like the UFC Facebook page, you'll be able to see 2 fights. And then on ION TV in the U.S., we are doing 3 preliminaries. Those same 3 preliminaries will be available here in Australia on Fuel TV and free and available on Main Event. We've got a big week. Ryan Bader and Kenny Florian are actually doing signings on Thursday and Friday in Melbourne and in Brisbane. The fighters are weighing in on Saturday, and we have a number of fighters there to do signings as well. We're expecting a big turnout at the weigh-in. I think last time we had close to 6,000 people. We also yesterday launched the UFC magazine in Australia. A resounding success. ACP, our partner, has been blown away by the uptake. I actually walked to one of the vendors nearby, and it sold out of their copies, so I think that's a great sign for us. Usually we would do the press conference. I would have the fighters come up and make a couple of comments. I think what we're going to do is cut a little short. I'm going to make a couple of comments about the fighters and their fights, and then we'll just open it up to questions. It's loud in my ear, I'm getting plenty of echo. And then once we're done with the questions, we'll pose the fighters off, and then we'll break off the one-on-ones. Kyle Lowe, who's up on the dais here, who's from Dubbo and fights out of Queensland. This will be his 3rd fight in the UFC. He's fighting Chris Camozzi. It's a very tough fight. I'm really interested to see how the fans react to Kyle. I think he walks out too. I come from a line down under. And I'm really excited to see that, and obviously the fight. On the other end, you've got George Sabaropoulos, who many of you know, 7-0 in the UFC, pretty tough to do that. He's fighting Dennis Seaver, who's 6-1 in the UFC, very dangerous striker, has all the makings of a great matchup. A lot of heat on this fight. Certainly the internet is abuzz with the fight between Michael Bisping and Jorge Rivera. There's a lot of interest in that fight. Even before any of the buzz started, you look at that fight, you can easily see it being a fight of the night contender. And then finally, obviously, the legend BJ Penn is fighting John Fitch. John Fitch, I'm sure many of you know, is actually 13-1 in the UFC, pretty impressive record. It'll be an interesting contrast in styles to see this fight. So without further ado, we'll open it up to questions. Please, before you ask your question, make sure you have a microphone in your hand so that we can allow everyone to hear the question. If you raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you.
Gymgrossisten.com